All right, you loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Agency Intelligence Podcast, where I give you a real agent inside a real agency, giving you the real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. Because this right here is another solo that I wanted to do, because as I was talking with a couple agents, this something kind of brought together 2 or 3 points that I wanted to deliver straight to you. Um, you know, some of the things that are going on out in industry, there is a lot of great stuff. That's what I'm here to talk about, right? I'm here to talk about something though that no one really talks about when it comes to employees. And I want to put a little different spin and kind of expand your mind a little bit on how we talk about culture and what we can do with our employees. All right, you ready? Before I do that, I want to remind you about Inditech. You need to go to AIinditech.com. That's AIinditech.com. And you can find out we're now listing out about 80 to 90% of the schedule is out for Inditech. About 80% of the speakers are up there and posted that have given me their information. We have almost 200 people that have signed up. If you're an agency owner and you come to Inditech on that Tuesday, because Inditech is on Wednesday and Thursday, but on that Tuesday, I had 6 open rooms and I said, hey, Insurance Mavericks, would you join us at Inditech? So they're going to take those rooms and they're going to be putting on their own event. If you're not part of Insurance Mavericks, if you're an agency owner, you need to check that out. Basically, when the explosion happened of IAOA, a lot of the people, not all of them, there's a bunch of great people that decided to disperse across the internet sphere. But a lot of them also settled in at the Insurance Mavericks, a great, fantastic group, led by many, many women. I think, kind of Lisa Hennigan and Teresa Kitchens and Alicia Kavanaugh. And I apologize. I know I shouldn't have started mentioning because I'm leaving 2 or 3 out. They run that organization, and it's not really an organization. It's a dynamic group. But anyways, I invited them on Tuesday. So if you're an agency owner, you can come and get to meet all those people and all the other great people that are going to be coming to their event. All right. But then you come on Wednesday and Thursday, and we've got like training sessions, all agents on the stage teaching you how they're using technology in their agency. All right. I brought it there for you. I don't have a tech company. I have no interest in this other than I'm tired of there being great tech companies by management companies. But if you're not with one of those management companies, or maybe one of those management companies doesn't discuss other products that you're using in conjunction with it at their show. I wanted to free everything up. As I called this last year, this is Switzerland, baby. We're neutral. We're technology agnostic. All we need is independent insurance agents to come see it. Inditech is about independent insurance agents and the technology that powers them to profit. I'm going to say it until I get sick of it. It's how we have to scale. You've got to understand technology is not something that you just kind of need in your agency. It's like trying to say that you can run your agency without email. You can't. It's a lot easier than it was probably in the past, but you can't do it. You have to have email. All right. And it's the same type of technology that's coming along. So come visit us, AIinditech.com. I mean, I made it $149 for you to come. I mean, how am I making any money on that after I feed you and have to pay for the event? I'm not. I just need you to come there because I know that when you come there, we start to scale. When we start to scale, we start to improve market share. When we improve market share just 1%, that puts almost $900,000, almost $1 million in each county, in each parish in America extra and commission revenue. And we can do that. 61%. Shit, we should be at more than that when it comes to equaling personal lines and commercial lines out. So we should be more than that. And this is how we do it. Just leading this effort, trying to do everything we can. And I need you there. Okay. Now let's get back to what we're talking about here. What I think is important, I had a guy tell me one time, and I totally forgot about this. And until somebody else brought this up and they kind of were saying the same thing. And I thought, man, I remember this. I was in my late 20s. And a gentleman told me one time, he said, Jason, whenever very, very wise, wealthy, successful gentleman told me this, he said, Jason, he says, employees are very, very tough. They're the greatest thing that you have for your business, but they will be one of the most challenging. And he said, one of the things that you want to keep in mind, Jason, is that there's actually only 3 things that deep down every employee is looking for. Okay. And he says there could be 5, there could be 10, but they all come into and encompass into these 3. And he said the first one, which people don't like to overlook, and we're going to dissect here for a couple minutes, is culture. Right? Now, what does that mean? Culture is, here's what it's defined as, all right? Brent Kelly with Sitkins Group, he has it defined even a little bit better than this, but this is what we have. Company culture is a shared set of workplace beliefs, values, attitudes, standards, purposes, and behaviors. That's a lot, right? So think about that. Beliefs, values, attitudes, standards, processes, or purposes, and behaviors. Now let's put that aside for a minute. The second one was opportunity. So basically employees are saying, if it's a good place to work and it resonates with me. And the second thing is I want to know that I have opportunity in this organization. There is no ceiling in this organization. Or if there is a ceiling, I have many, many rungs until I get there. I have a way to better myself, right? I have people who believe in me and want me to be better. So number 1 was culture. Number 2 was opportunity. And number 3 was actually money. He said money is always, just like in sales, money is, or the price of the insurance is always a factor. We just want to make sure it's not the number 1 factor. And how you do that is, and this is the key that I want you to take away here. The gentleman didn't say it was just culture, opportunity, and money. He ended it by saying this. He said, Jason, as you grow and you start to realize this, you really only need 2 of those 3. Now, it's perfect to try to give them 3, and that's very, very tough to do, okay? But you only need 2 of the 3, but if you have 1 of the 3, you'll fail every time. And if you think about that, so if we have a great place to work and I have a ton of opportunity to increase my who I am professionally and grow and climb the ladder, I'm willing to take less money, right? But on the opposite is true, is that if I don't have a good culture and I don't have a good opportunity there, they better be paying me a lot of damn money, right? Makes sense. Think of this. Let's say that, hey, there's a lot of opportunity here and I get really paid good money, but the culture's not that great. Probably the person will probably stay, right? So you got 2 of those 3, but not 1 of the 3. So I want you to be thinking about that when you're starting to try to form this out. Now let's click real quick on culture. It's a company culture is a shared set of workplace beliefs, values, attitudes, standards, purposes, and behaviors. Now, as an agency owner or as a future agency owner, we have to realize that culture is everything. And here's the thing. This is the key. It's hard to change midstream. One of the things it's like teaching an old dog new tricks, right? It's very similar to that. In the fact that, I'll tell you what, I heard it said this before. I completely forgot about this. I was reading the book, The Courage to be Disliked. Okay. And it's a book on Adlerism. And he was a psychiatrist that was with Freud and was with some other famous psychiatrists of that era. And he actually was different than Freud, believed in a different thing. And it's a fantastic book. It's called The Courage to be Disliked. You should read it. It's fantastic. And they talk in there about how through basic psychologists and psychology of the way the brain works and learns, they say that roughly for you to change your way of thinking, it is true that people can change. The reason why they don't is because it requires a lot of change. And the older you are, the harder the change. And here was the formula. It takes about half your life to be able to change your way of truly thinking. So I'm 46, but that would be tough math. If I was 40 years old, that means I would really have to work on my way of thinking until I'm 60. So at that point in time, that's when you would really probably see a true. Now, this doesn't mean I have to become like a monk and study and do all this stuff every day, but it's almost like the taking 18 minutes a day to do something. If you do that every day, you'll be better than 95% of the people out there. So it's that very similar thing there that you're trying to increase that and try to keep that going out there. So think about that. So if you are 5 and you try to change your way of thinking, you only have to go to 7.5. But now think about this. If you're 50 and you have to change your way of thinking, it's got to be to about 75. So the key is obviously to do that at a younger. Now, let's stop for a minute. I'm not trying to get onto that. Let's take that into business. There's got to be the same principle there as well, right? Because a lot of things that people say is, Jason, there's a big conversation going on right now about unlimited time off. And what's funny is when everybody was younger and there was only 1, 2, or 3 people, they would say, oh, we have unlimited time off and all this stuff like that. And now they're all admitting to themselves that now as they've gotten bigger, that's not doable anymore. And I definitely agree with them. I definitely can see that. Okay. We have grown from 0 to 13 people. And it hasn't been necessarily an issue with us. I can't say necessarily, it never has been an issue with us. But I think it has to do with the fact that we started that way. Remember going back to what we're saying about how you can change and how you can learn? I think that a lot of times agencies are having problems because some of the people that I see mentioned in there on that post who were for it now are against it, they're making acquisitions. They're making acquisitions, which means they're buying other agencies. And oh my gosh, that would be very, very tough to do. Now, we've purchased 2 agencies, but I have to say to you, we got lucky in the fact that there was 2 people in the first one and only 1 came with the second one because they were families and they were wanting to leave anyway. So we got lucky there. Okay. And those 2 that came in on the first acquisition, we only kept 1 and they were fantastic. And the one that came in on the second one actually left after about 3 or 4 months, didn't fit the culture. Right. So we got lucky. So I'm not saying that this is not possible, but I see a lot of people changing their mind in it. And I want to remind you that I know that it can be done and it can be done correctly because there's many other agencies that are doing it. And included in that same comment thread was many agents who said that they had started it after hearing about it and they continued doing it. And it continued working, but they will all admit that it was a lot of work and it took constant reminding and helping people understand that doesn't mean you just get to take anything. Understanding. Here's the deal. You will never get somebody to understand how much time they're able to take and not able to take. But in a culture that is strong, you can get them to understand how much they're able to take without putting stress on the rest of the team. See, when they see themselves individually, they only care about themselves individually, like anybody would. This is Jason Cass included. So what they're going to do is they're going to act individually. How much can I take? But when we understand that it's unlimited because we're special and we're able to have a solid culture and a nice web of able to work together, being cross-trained, being able to do each other's jobs, that allows us to say that doesn't mean all of a sudden we pick up and do that work during that day. That means that employee lets people know when they're gone externally and internally in the office and externally to our customers. And then if a call comes in, an emergency comes in, the team can step in. But how often does that happen? And not in our agencies that happening a ton. I imagine in some other agencies it is. But I think it takes work. And I think that the older your agency is, 5 years, 10 years, 15, oh my gosh, if you've got some employees that have been there for 30, 40 years, they just can't comprehend it. It just doesn't make any sense to them because to them, it doesn't make sense. But get the team together. That's the key, right? How do you do this stuff? People are like, oh, well, I'm not putting foosball in my, I don't care. I'm not putting ping pong tables in my office either. But I tell you what, if I had some young people and they thought that was really cool and they were working their butt off, that's what we give them, right? Maybe like, oh, I'm not going to bring in coffee and all these snacks like these other companies do. Well, then you're going to continue to not get the employees like these other companies do, right? And you're going to continue to not create that culture like these other companies do. We're not going to use Teams. We're not going to use Slack. That's your digital ecosystem. That's your main way your company is communicating with each other and sharing their pluses and their negatives. And how do I do this and how do I do that without screaming down the hallway and four other people hearing them that shouldn't be, right? How do we create this camaraderie to where we trust one another? You know what we do? We can maybe start using our AMS and our CRM consistently so that we have tasks, we have pipelines. We use automations that trigger people so that when they're done with it, they can assign the task to somebody else. Start working together as a unified team, not passing over some piece of paper or sending them some email saying, hey, this needs done. No, we need to start acting professional. We need to start acting together. We need to start acting like we all care about one another. And that doesn't mean sitting around singing Kumbaya. That means showing that we're professionals and that you can depend on me and I can depend on you. And what we're going to do is, as you remember what I said there, it was a shared set of workplace beliefs, values, attitudes, standards, purpose, and behaviors. That's a lot of stuff that you got to get in line, right? And it's going to take a while. Like I said, the older you are. But if you are 1, 2, 3 employees, you should be able to do this. You should be able to give unlimited time off. You should be able to give, and I don't want to say limited. We just don't have a set amount. Yeah, you get vacation here. Yeah, you get time off. We'll let you know if you take too much, right? I've just never had. I mean, we've had employees that like we probably let 3, 4 go in our times. We've had around 20 employees and we never had any of them ever have that problem. We talk to them about it. We explain it, but like, you know, some people in the post were like, well, it only takes 1. No, that doesn't. You fire them. You make them walk the plank, you know, when everybody else sees them walk the plank, that's what happens. So, I go on and on about this, but I want to let you know, just to emphasize it and take it even further. We, in June, July, and August, are creating what is called the 3-day off week. Okay? Most people seem to work 5 days a week. You get 2 off. They have this thing called the 4-day work week. And really, work versus time off, I don't want to say one's positive or negative, but I'd rather talk about the time off as being more positive. So why don't we focus on that? So we're not going to call it the 4-day work week. We're going to call it the 3-day off week, right? So you're going to get a day off during one of the 5, and you're going to get your normal 2 during the weekend. 3 days off on a 7-day week. We're excited about it. So here's what it looks like. In our agency, we basically divided up our team and said, hey, okay, your personal lines, your commercial lines, even some of those were kind of iffy on both sides, our utility players that kind of do know everybody's job. And then we had an administrator, we have some producers. But what we did is we broke them down and said, okay, this is personal lines, this is commercial lines, or team 1, team 2. And we can only have one person from team 1 off, and we can only have one person from team 2 off. Now, producers don't count. Producers can get Wednesday off. They are mandated to take a half a day on Wednesday. Me personally, this is what I tell them. If I was a producer and this was my job, I didn't take days off. That's just the way that it was. I hated when Saturday and Sunday came because there wasn't a underwriter I could call to sell business. I'm serious. That's the way I thought about shit. And so that doesn't, but not knowing that they're not me, I don't want them to feel obligated that they sit around and weren't declared a day. So I told them, hey, here's a half day. Wednesday, just leave. Just go and do whatever you want to do. And I told them as well, one-on-one, my 4 producers, I said, if you want, you can still come in or you don't have to come in at all. So it's up to you, but I just wanted you to know. Everybody else is getting a day off. And we have one day, I think, where there's 3 people that are off. But then now, let me give you a layout of this. Monday and Friday, everybody comes in. Monday and Friday, everybody comes in. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays are the days that people rotate off. So there's always going to be 2 or 3 people off every day. But as I said, it wouldn't be from the same department or the same workforce. It's going to be split up so that you have that. Now, Where I learned this from was Michael Cruz. Michael Cruz, who used to be the owner of On Hand VEs, which Virtual Intelligence, the company that I founded and run today. He is our chief operating officer there. And I know this is something that he started with his agency. He ran into a few hiccups. He did. His agency is a tad smaller than mine, about the same size, but I think they have like 10 people, maybe 11, something like that, but right about the same size. And he ran into some issues. And so he told me about it. For instance, for his team, well, I'll just talk about shared inboxes. Things got a little bit more complicated. I don't want to steal his thunder because I think he's going to talk about the things that he did and how he learned it. So I don't want to steal that, but I do want to give credit where credit is due. I wouldn't have had enough intelligence to think about this being a good idea. But once he told it to me back in February and I watched him kind of lay it out with his team, he started it in I think April or May. Been doing it about a month right now. He's told me it's been working well. They had to make some adjustments, but his team is absolutely loving it. And so once again, open 5 days a week. We're still open on the same time from 8:30 to 4:30. Still open the same time. My team's still getting paid. That's another question I'm getting a lot. My team's still getting paid the same amount. I'm not trying to do it as a cost saving measure. I'm trying to do it as a mental plus measure. Maybe I want my team to get a little bit more mentally strong here. And I'm tired of following the standards of those who followed behind me. Maybe we need to work 6 days a week. I don't know, but is 5 the right? That's just what we've been told. We challenge everything else in this world. Why are we challenging that? Especially, I think, when we start looking at the workforce. The workforce, I'm not saying they're lazy. They just have different priorities. There's a lot of them that think, hey, I want my get rich. And how do I do that? How do I become my TikTok? But a lot of the generation that we're hiring today doesn't want to be a TikTok fan. You know what they want? They want a pickup truck. They want a boat. And they want to live by the lake, make $80,000 a year. That's what they want to do. You know what they want? They want to be able to do the things that they want to do. It's weird. I don't think that way, right? I think to myself, like, I want to do the things that I want to do, but I want to build up for the rest of my life. And maybe this generation is going to have some real rude awakening when they turn 40 and 50 and 60 and shit starts hurting and they don't really want to do anything anymore and they realize that they don't have the money. I don't know, but I think things will happen then. But I will tell you this. I believe the generation out there right now is one of the best generations if we can harness who they are. I really do believe that. Especially Generation Z. They seem lazy only because they don't work and think like us. They're really not lazy. I found that to be true. Let's see. Me and Sarah are in our 40s. Travis is 36. I'm thinking real fast. We don't have anybody. Everybody's younger than Travis at 36. And I think, if I'm correct, I want to say most of them are under the age of 30. And so we know it's there, right? And here's the other thing I have to say before I get off here. This is how we are as independents, right? One thing that works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. But the process may not work, but there's elements that you can take out of it to build your own. That's how everybody gets their own, right? Some of us are just like, shit, I don't know what to do. So I just started throwing shit against the wall and see what stuck. Okay, that works sometimes too. But it's also taking, that won't work, but I did like what you did here and I'm going to take that part. And it's about listening to those. And so I think that if you go through and you read that post or you listen to conversations on should we have unlimited time off, should we have unlimited vacation, I know there's a lot of people that jump behind legislation and say, oh, our legislators won't allow that. You can write your handbook to be what it says it's supposed to be. There's even a person in there that says that so that you follow the law. Make sure they're at least getting what the law allows. But I think if you show them how the law short-sights them and doesn't really take into account for the fact that maybe they're only supposed to get 2 weeks of vacation, but something special came up, right? Or something unique now has come about to where they're going to need 3 weeks. Why are we bickering over that? Just because the law states that you're only supposed to have 2? Do we want to follow what the law says? Let's give them that as the minimum, but let's also say, hey, why don't we create an environment where 2 is just put there so I don't get sued? But what you really get is what you need. Is if you need some time off, you shouldn't have to worry about, well, I need to save those 5 days because I only get 6 more. A lot of people in there on the poster are like, well, I just increased my PTO days. Well, then you're kind of giving the same thing, right? No, I just give 20 PTO days. So then you're giving 3 weeks, essentially. So we're back. Well, I didn't know. Really, we can call it whatever we want, but at the end of the day, we need to set the guidelines by what the government says, right? So we don't get sued. But then again, I think we need to have a conversation with our employees as, do we want to follow those guidelines, or how about some new guidelines? How about a new way to think where these are the minimum, but where you and what you need, that is what we take. And I think we can do it. We are. I'm not going to say it 20 or 30 or 50 people will be able to do it. I think it'd be very, very hard, but I'm also willing to bet that out there have been thousands and probably hundreds of thousands of companies who have been very successful never having straight vacation or PTO time. That tells me it can be done. It may not be able to be done in every agency, due to your culture, due to where your agency is located, due to the effectiveness of how good you are as an agency owner, how good you are at building your culture, because most of us are really bad at it, including me. That's why you got to hire smart people and have them tell you what to do. This is the key. And as the young kids like to say today, this is the way. Hey, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of this. I just really wanted to talk to you about this. Remember those 3 things that everybody wants: culture, opportunity, and money. And you need 2 of the 3. So always be reminding that. And when you interview somebody next time, ask them, are those the 3 things that you would say are most important? I guarantee you they all say yes. And if they try to say something different, it probably fits into one of those 3. Give it a try. I promise you're going to like it. Hey, remember, I do what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass, and I'm out.